Haroun Rahimi. He's here in Istanbul and is an assistant professor of law at the American University of Afghanistan. Haroun, always good to speak to you. The narrative we've been hearing from the Taliban talks about inclusion, about wanting to bring all Afghans together. They've even asked imams to promote the benefits of the Islamic system and urge unity. A nice sentiment, I think, but the practicality is very different. How do you see the Taliban going about trying to bring all Afghans together?
I mean, you asked the right question, the practicality of it. First of all, with regard to an Islamic system, Afghanistan's last constitution was also the most Islamic in the region, one of the most Islamic in the region. It stated that no law can be in the country against the precepts and beliefs of Islam. Afghanistan ordinary laws provided for the hudud and qasas to be enforced in the country, subject to certain procedural safeguards. With regard to political inclusivity, there are serious issues right now. Panjshir is posed to resist militarily. You see protests on the street, people gathering around flag, and that's an important thing because they are looking for a national symbol of unity, not maybe gathering around a politician or the last leaders or anything, just the symbol of flag. And the Taliban have not treated them well, as you showed. They were fired at, they were misused, abused. With regard to the political consultations that are going on, those are helpful. They are talking to different parties inside Afghanistan. There are people talking in Pakistan. But what come of it, we don't know. The indication that we heard from some senior leaders in the group is that maybe they will go back to the council model they already have, and they will just impose that on the population. The current supreme leader would be at the top, and there will be one deputy that would act like as a de facto president. And they said no democracy in Afghanistan. I know the term may be controversial for the Taliban, but the elements of representative government must be preserved. Otherwise, anyone who claims that they represent Afghanistan, Afghan people, or they represent the values of Afghanistan, they have no legitimacy. How do we know what Afghans want? No one can claim that they represent Afghanistan unless there's a process through which Afghans can actually themselves express their wants, their desires, and their preferences.
Haroun, you recently tweeted that the Taliban must agree to international monitoring by the UN. Why do you want to see this happen? And do you think that both parties would agree to such monitoring?
It is an incredibly serious situation right now. We have horrible reports coming out, and we have a hard time verifying whether they are true or not. Taliban always claim that these are rogue actors, these are robbers, or they just say it's not true. But we need to know the facts. United Nations already have a presence in Afghanistan. It's called UNAMA. It's United Nations Assistance Mission in Afghanistan. They have been monitoring civilian casualties, for example. They can expand their capability, and there should be investment made to allow them to investigate serious reports. For example, there was a report that the family of a journalist was tracked down and killed in Herat, my hometown. Those reports, if they go investigated, if we don't make sure if they are true, there are consequences. I think we really cannot say we can hold Taliban accountable to their promises. Whether Taliban should agree to this or not, I think they should, because they want international legitimacy. And one way they can get it is to assure the world that they actually are willing to follow up with their promises. And we need to have third-party verification that they do. The current information environment is very complicated. There's been a chilling effect on journalists. They're not going out because they're afraid of retaliation. People I try to get to talk to the media, like people on the ground, they say they're afraid. They won't talk to media. I'm sure in your programming, you've reached out to people and you've experienced this. It all points to the need to have an independent, neutral, capable entity on the ground that can actually verify these claims. A lot of them may actually be untrue. I mean, there are a lot of people who want Afghanistan to get into another civil war, and they may be pushing some reports that are creating grounds for resistance and a violent conflict. I'm just saying that we need to know the facts, and we need to know the facts very soon so we can avoid a civil war. And at the same time, if there is Taliban actually doing this, so we know we can actually take actions and ensure there are consequences.
Haroun, you mentioned there that your hometown is Herat, and I would imagine that you've been in touch with family and friends there. Can you just paint a picture for us what life is like for them at the moment and how they're feeling?
Herat has been stable very early on. It is not as large of a city as Kabul, and it doesn't have the number of government employees, ex-military and such, is not as large as Kabul. It was stabilized very early on. People I talk to in Herat, they often say the city is stable, the city is calm. Yesterday was Ashura, so Shias were coming out for processions and the other rituals they have, and they were unharmed. People were going around and observing the religious events. While that's true, it's also true that people are extremely worried. They're worried about many things. They're worried about being targeted. That's there. But they're also worried about the economy. A lot of people who were government officials said that they may not have a job anymore, that they may, even if they have a job, their salary may be seriously reduced. Those people who are in private businesses, they are afraid that the sanctions may come in. They're afraid that the borders crossing may not normalize soon. So there is a very deep fear of future, both in terms of personal safety, but also in terms of ability to actually make a living in Afghanistan now that the Taliban are in control.
Yeah, so many unknowns for the people of Afghanistan. Haroun Rahimi, appreciate your time as always. Thank you.